Our journey in search of potential success stretches across paddy fields, farms, plantations, and towns. Exploring into your hearts and sights. We hear, we observe, works a commitment rich in faith. We witness the mounting of crops and livestock in the masses, as far as the horizon. So we furnish this joyful privilege with continuous care and support to conserve its everlasting value with the coming generation. Every day is a brand new day, taking with rising hopes as life explores the open sea, where only the strong survives, and know they are appreciated, reaching safely to their destinations. No heights can be conquered without careful planning. Everything is mutually shared towards self-sustaining, which is why we are never far, until dreams and aspirations are fulfilled as we continue to listen, appreciate, and help you make that smooth transition. Paving the way to better living conditions, exposing enlightenment and perfection, where faith and knowledge progress in unison. It is when our efforts become your success, thus conclude to the greatest achievement.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this very interesting session. We're going to have a webinar, and it is so you can see the title up there in the top hand of in the top above my head. Okay, just don't say top left or right. I'll confuse myself. Above my head, and the topic is on entrepreneurship in Malaysia, but specifically talking about how you can redesign business models for the digital economy. I know the word redesigning business models sounds like, whoa, what is this, man? It sounds very heavy, right? You got to go and do a master's or MBA, or PhD to get this. No, we've got three executives, two of whom are entrepreneurs, to talk about how you can utilize technology in the form of digital tools, right, to help you become a better entrepreneur. And for those of you who are thinking of becoming entrepreneurs, this also will be a great session for you to realize the kind of tools that are available out there for you to use. And hopefully some of the speakers can share little anecdotes of how other entrepreneurs, right, especially in the agriculture space, because, we are being hosted, and this is a session by Agro Bank, to talk about how agriculture nowadays intersects with technology, especially digital tools, right, to help everyone out there become better entrepreneurs, become more productive, for your businesses to become more competitive also, which is super key, right? We've got three panelists, and what I'm going to do is we're going to start introducing the panelists sequentially, and we're gonna start with a very interesting gentleman by the name of Afiq. First name, I'm friendly with all of them now. I'm just gonna say Afiq, and the thing you want to know about Afiq is these two key takeaways from Afiq. He was a student studying business in New Zealand, and in his final year, he actually started his own company. And if I'm not wrong, he says that he claims he was the first Malaysian student, at least, to start to become an entrepreneur, so while still a student in New Zealand. And even more amazing, he even started a charitable trust in his final year because he wanted to help people out there, which is quite amazing. So let's bring on Afiq to the camera, and Afiq will start with 2 minutes of some key thoughts from him.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Karanjit, for inviting me, and of course to our fellow audience. It's glad for me to be part of the team who giving this webinar for today. So my background is actually electrical engineering, but then I jump off to this entrepreneur's journey and build up a few multiple companies, and also lead up the organization called My Fund Action as part of the executive directors. Yeah, so that's a bit about me.
So sorry, just a quick one, Afiq. Yeah, when you say My Fund Action, are you focusing on My Fund FUN or My FUND Fund and Action?
It's actually as a whole. Like if you have funds and you don't take action for the funds that you have, then it's probably not good. So we try to make the fund that we have as much as possible giving to the communities, and also to make it efficient and to make it optimized. So that's why it's My Fund Action. Okay,
all right, fine, understood. So, okay, so you want to just, sorry, I was interrupting you there, but I was just curious about that. So, what are some of the key, opening, any opening thoughts here on this session?
Oh, yeah. So as we all know that the topics for today is to redesign the business models for digital economies, right? So I want to emphasize more on the digitalization of the customer experience. We want to divert from having these retailers kind of business models, and then you want to get ventured into this e-commerce platform. Some people and a lot of a business owner, especially the small business owner, they're having hard time to divert everything into this one platform. So yeah, so I want to emphasize more on that, and what sort of mindsets that these entrepreneurs should have in terms of having an agile team, and also navigate throughout this kind of economy, especially during this endemic time.
Okay, cool. I think, yeah, when you use the word agile, also, people will be wondering, normally agile you use for software, right? Software code. So entrepreneurs should be flexible and adaptable. Then you use the word a software term into a business, proposition. So I suspect it means the same thing, but people just want it to sound cool, agile.
yeah, it's just the same thing. But throwing jargons and all,
Yeah, and the journey of being, and make no bones about it, the journey to become an entrepreneur is very difficult and very challenging, which is why sessions like this are very useful to help you and make you aware of all the various tools and experts that are out there to help you, and institutions like Agro Bank that are there to help you also. Okay, great, Afiq. Thank you for your thoughts, and we will have you back later to for some questions also. Let's get Bikesh on now. Okay, so Bikesh, hi. I've known Bikesh for like quite a long time now. Definitely for the 10 years that I've been I've been running DNA. Sorry, when I started, I didn't introduce myself. So I'm a technology journalist, and my name is Karamjit Singh. Not important at all. Important is how we want to get all this insight out of the heads of these three people we have with us. Bikesh is considered one of the leaders of the Malaysian startup ecosystem. And he's not just a leader in Malaysia, Bikesh is also recognized as a leader in the Southeast Asian scene. So I'll just leave it at that. Bikesh, you maybe want to just share your opening 2 or 3 minutes opening thoughts on this topic and its importance, or whether you feel it's even important. Okay.
Yeah. So the whole notion of it's post-COVID, therefore you have to do something different. So I think it depends on the organization. So business models are very key to anyone doing well terms of getting sales for sure. There are many different business models out there. But the idea, what you always have to go back to the fundamentals is, why shift if things are not broken? So if you feel that your organization is suffering from sales because of COVID, you're not the only one. I mean, everyone suffered sales loss. But the idea is what happens after, right? So for a few people, things will go back to normal, like the hotel industries, they can basically go back to normal now. It was just about holding out. But there's another, mix of two crowds of customers that you have where behaviors would have changed a little bit or completely, entirely changed, and there would be a big drop. So I think if you realize that this is some stuff we'll speak about later, you belong in a boat where things have not gone well and it's not going to continue going well post-pandemic, then yes, you'd want to revisit the business model and find new ways to basically do something. But you always go back to the root fundamentals, right? How do you make money? Who are the stakeholders? And are the behaviors of the stakeholders change? And then you decide on it. Don't just change for the sake of changing. It has to basically be responding to market forces. So let's talk about some of those things.
Okay, fine, good. So, Bikesh, when I bring you back on, because you're sounding a little bit faint, so you can just maybe bring your microphone device closer. So, what I love about Bikesh also, him being on this session now in his car just shows how technology has broken down barriers. Right, you don't need to rush into a building, and you don't need a fixed piece of infrastructure. Right, and that technology is all of us have it in our hands, right? As long as you have a phone, you're confident that your service provider, your telco, has got reliable connectivity for you. You can appear in webinars like this anywhere and everywhere. So wonderful. Thanks for that micro lesson for all of us, Bikesh. Okay, so we are in the age of micro credentials, right? So that's a micro example or lesson for us. And now I'd like to bring on Cik Khatijah, who is the covering president and CEO of Agro Bank, who is also our host for this session. If we can have Puan Khatijah on. Okay, Puan Khatijah, hello, welcome to the show. And Puan Khatijah, I'm giving you the hard job. You don't have 2 minutes opening remarks. You're going to be straight away answering some questions. But before that, I would just like people to know that you are actually a accounting graduate, right, from the lovely state of Denver, Colorado. I say lovely because the Rocky Mountains are there.
Yes.
So I hope you don't get any questions about whether you love skiing or asking you for any ski tips, right? That may come, I don't know. But also one more thing significant is that Puan Khatijah is recognized as listed as among the most influential women in Islamic and most influential women in business and Islamic finance by a magazine called Woman, and that was only last year. So that's the gravitas of the CEO before us. So jumping straight into the question for you, Puan Khatijah, because this is very important, right? Because banks, and especially a development bank like you don't work in isolation. So what are the current strategic collaborations with digital partners do you have? And what are you looking for even with future partners? Because there may be some people listening who may say, hey, I believe my organization can be a value-add partner to the bank.
Okay, first of all, thanks, Karamjit, for that lovely introduction. First of all, I would like just to share that Agro Bank actually, the purpose of our existence is actually, first of all, we were established in 1969, way back in 1969, I think. Yep, it's correct, 1969, where the purpose of our existence is actually to help to increase the productivity of paddy, paddy production. So we are part of those setup those days, so that's why we exist. And what is interesting then, we first existed because we need to improve the production and therefore meaning yield, and now we are still talking about improving the yield by use of technology. So it has not changed since then. The purpose of our existence is to support the agriculture sector. So what we have done, all the while we do have our financing that we offer to the customer of equipment financing. So before this, we have our product and we try to sell that equipment. But now when we talk about technology, then we have to find partners who can actually value add to the product that we have, right? So existingly, just in April 2021, we work with MTDC, where we have allocated about ringgit Malaysia 10 million to 200 participants. What is interesting, we work with MTDC, which is the technology provider, and we will provide the financing. And the one that benefits this mostly are actually entrepreneurs. They could be startup, and they could also be youth, you know. So at the same time, we have also invited an anchor, which will give an assurance for the marketing part of it. Yeah, so there will be an off-take arrangement with the anchor as well as the technical advisory part. So that's what we have done with MTDC in the past, one of the examples. So what we're having currently, so as announced, I think in budget 2021, there's an allocation of 60 million for the agriculture value chain modernization. The financing will be channeled through Agro Bank. So this is in collaboration with MAFI. Yeah. And at the same time, we also...
sorry, hold on, Puan Khadijah. When you say MARTI, is this the Malaysian Agriculture Research Development Institute?
No, it's MAFI, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry.
Oh, the ministry itself. Okay, I thought I heard MARDI aside. Okay, they almost sound alike.
Yeah, just a little bit of background. Agro Bank is actually an agency under MAFI, previously known as Ministry of Agriculture. But this is an extension to it, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry. So we are an agency under MAFI. So if there's any fund that is allocated to MAFI, most of the time it will be channeled to us.
Understood.
So that is one fund that is available now. And then
sorry, Puan Khadijah. So when you say the fund available, the 60 million ringgit, because we're already in the Q4, right, of this year, is there still funding available if somebody's listening, wants to apply or wants to let a friend know or family member know?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay, good news.
Yeah, for the modernization, for the agriculture value chain modernization financing.
Okay.
And another fund that is available at Agro Bank is for the vessel modernization and capturing mechanization. This is all for the fishermen to improve,
fishermen,
to upgrade their vessels, you know, so they can go deeper to the sea. And then that is for an allocation of 150 million. Again, we are working with an agency under MAFI as well, yeah, Department of Fishery. Okay. And so those, so far, we have been working with our agencies, but we are also, we have something in the pipeline where we have identified about, I think, 5 of the partners that the technology providers that also looking at for the same purpose actually, yeah. So these partners also involved in accelerator program, as well as you know, sandboxing activities. So we are involved. We have identified these partners because in our business plan, that is actually one of the initiatives. We want to do more than just the traditional financing.
Wow.
We want to work with partners and then support also the government agenda in modernizing the agriculture sector, actually. So one of our strategic focus areas is actually modernize the agriculture sector as well. Yeah? Support the development of the agriculture sector. So for now, I'm not able to share the details yet because it's still at the, it's not at the early stage, but we have not really made the official announcement yet.
I see.
So you can wait and stay tuned for more information from us. Yeah. So
yeah. So I advise you to go maybe follow the bank on Facebook, where they've got like 65,000 followers and on the way to 100,000, which is the high target that Puan Khadijah has set for a team. Or, you know, you can probably get yourself onto the database, email database also, so they can keep you informed. So it's great to hear, Khadijah. You have mentioned a few times a word that I love, which is that we want to do more, right? And you're already doing more with programs. And the key word about doing more is about, you're saying, increasing productivity, right? So when you increase productivity in agriculture, the yield goes up. And of course, then you've got more product to sell to the market. So that's, I'm already quite happy about what I'm hearing from you, and you're only, you know, your first question only. So okay, with that now, and also the fact that you said there's still funding available, which is very important. So let's now, Khadijah, I will bring on Afiq again, and I do want to ask him a question. And so Afiq, if we can get you to share the screen with me, okay? So Afiq, so look, the topic of this session is about redesigning business models, right, for the digital economy. What do you feel are the challenges, right, entrepreneurs are experiencing or they will experience in trying to adopt technologies when they're trying to diversify from just physical selling, right, into e-commerce? And coincidentally, on DNA, we just ran a story, Amazon in Singapore, because we also cover Singapore. Amazon in Singapore did a piece of research. I think they interviewed 300 MSMEs, micro and SMEs in Singapore. And it found that 1/3 of them were successful in exporting their products, also leveraging on digital, right? So and the entrepreneurs there are saying that we want more help from government and government agencies also, and even more help in advising them. Apparently, one of the big gaps. So you think Singapore is an advanced economy and they're quite savvy. Even the MSMEs there are saying that they feel that there's a knowledge gap. They don't have enough knowledge and gap, and which is one of the reasons why we're having this kind of webinar also. So, okay, here, just that in recent news, I just want to share because it's relevant to this in terms of micro SMEs, right? Being able to export more and having that knowledge gap. Of course, for us, it's about the knowledge gap, right? So, can you answer this question about the challenges our entrepreneurs will face, right, when trying to move physical to e-commerce?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the questions, Karamjit. I think we have to look on the fundamental things when we say about something to divert from having this retailers business models into this e-commerce punya area. Because why? E-commerce area is something that not a lot of people are familiar, especially when it comes to this retailers business. They have been doing all this retail experience with the customers for quite a while. So when they want to divert from these retail business models towards these e-commerce business models, it's going to be difficult, especially to those SME and also micro business owners. So I think first of all, we need to set up a few expectations when it comes to the customer and why do they buy and why. Because I'm really obsessed with the customer experience, and also I am really obsessed with what does the customer want. So when we look at the customer segment, right? So most of the customers, they want to go to retail store because they want to feel the experience, you know, when they want to buy shoes, for example. So they want to try to fit in with the shoes, whether the shoes are okay with them, whether the design is okay with them, and things like that, right? So having this kind of experience really appealing for certain kind of customer segment. So when we want to venture into this e-commerce industry, e-commerce business models, of course, you want to make sure that what we call the omni-channel. So omni-channel is actually something, the experience that you have on the retail store is kind of similar when you want to communicate through this e-commerce platform. So we want to make sure the expectations that the consumer have is consistent. The shopping experiences, going to the shop, and also buying in the e-commerce platform is something that is favorable. And also, not a lot of people are technology savvy, right? So you might want to educate them, especially when it comes to your customer base, is those people who wants to actually experience wearing the shoes in your shops. So you have to educate them. Because then again, the customer, your customer base that you have before this, you can divert them, the sales towards this e-commerce platform. I believe that the seamless shopping expectation is very important when you want to change these business models. Because you want to make sure that the shopping using e-commerce platform is going to be as easy as possible. Because some people are not tech savvy, right? So that's the first thing I think people need to think. The entrepreneurs need to think about. The basic thing is to actually obsess about your customer and know the every touch points that your customer want to experience. So then you propose somewhat similar experience using this e-commerce platform. The second one.
Sorry, by the way, because you use the word obsessed, you must be a big fan of Jeff Bezos, right? Because the first cardinal rule of Amazon is an obsession over customer service.
Yes,
so.
yes, exactly. So we being adopted one of the Amazon method, which what we call PRFAQ. So when we try to implement some sort of products developments, any technology developments. Say for example, okay, we want to do an e-commerce store. So we will do our PRFAQ. So that's what we call press release frequently asked questions. So that method is being used also by Amazon. So we want to make sure that we really understand what is the idea behind these customers, the consumers. What do they actually want? So how do we get engaged with them? How do we actually know them? So when we know that and we propose the right solutions, I think it's not about having a lot of money to invest in this e-commerce platform as per se, because I think there's a lot of products out there available for you to test out. So for me, it's very important to do a lot of testing. It's important for you to do a lot of hypothesis. Then you can come out with the seamless shopping experience. If not, it's going to be hard for them to engage with you. You don't want to expend a lot in this infrastructure without knowing the real outputs coming from these platforms.
Okay. Oh, cool. All right. So you use the word seamless, and you must really understand your customer well. And, you talk about using a PR FAQ, but just a quick one before go to Bikesh. And I'm totally shocked, and I hope my time is wrong, because sounds like it's almost like 3:30. Seems like we just started 7 minutes ago, and it's already 27 minutes. So I'm just going to quickly ask you, because you talked about a PR FAQ, and I think yesterday or day before, the Minister of Communication Multimedia, Tan Sri Anwar Musa, has just opened his own TikTok account. Man. I mean, I'm like shocked at that. So, but because you a lot of entrepreneurs also, obviously, those who want to start out and be entrepreneurs are probably the younger group. So I'm sure TikTok, using a TikTok channel is one of the ways that you can deliver better customer service, right, to your customers as well, right? You don't have to explain a lot, but is this a new tool in the toolbox also before we go on to Bikesh?
So I would assume that TikTok is just another platform. It's best for you to know which platform is best to find your customer segment.
Good point.
So that one is very important, right? So not all of Malaysian people or your customer segment in TikTok platform. So you need to determine that one first. And also, the way that people interact in TikTok is kind of a bit different. I met a lot of entrepreneurs, and also I coach a lot of entrepreneurs. I also urge people to venture into this TikTok platform. But again, you need to understand whether, because there's a lot of platform, right?
Yeah.
Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, everything. In fact, there's a lot of products out there. But as a business owner, you want to make sure that you want to start small and you use whatever you have. So it's best, you fully utilize whatever platform that you have, and you know how to scale from that.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, young man. And we're just, because we're talking about some tools here, but these are right now very marketing-based social media tools. So let's bring on Bikesh, and a question for Bikesh, who's got experience dealing with the whole swath of entrepreneurs, and even because his company has got a lot of corporate innovation programs also, so he's got a good cross-section of experience. Bikesh, technology adoption of digital tools, right, is definitely beneficial for small and micro businesses, as Afiq has just said also. But there does seem to be a gap, right, in the tools adoption between large businesses and entrepreneurs. Especially in e-commerce or cloud computing. How are you helping to bridge the gap? And I know that you've got experience actually in helping even agriculture-based entrepreneurs also, right? So maybe you can touch on that specific element.
Many questions there, but yeah, I guess depending who is the entrepreneur we're speaking to today, right? You could be an entrepreneur, you're trying to build a technology platform. You could be an entrepreneur where you are the supply side. You are the farmer, you are the person going online and trying to find technology to utilize. So let's talk a bit from both stands of views itself. from the availability in the market, you see, a lot of tools trying to get towards the bigger tail end of the customers, because Malaysia is relatively a small market. 30
Yeah.
million people. SMEs, we've got about 1 million. If you talk about the mid-tier companies, the ones who do services 20 to 200 million, manufacturing 50 to 500 million, maybe that's like 1% of them. So there's only a few companies that can pay you that big ticket price.
Yep.
We're trying to build something of an enterprise nature for a larger organization. So there is, of course, focus on people who would pay, and it's a small niche. But if you're trying to go down the SME route, trying to get something where we call it hunting flies, people pay you small ticket prices, but you need a vast quantity. That's where the challenge is. A lot of people are trying to double in the space, but failing. Because again, like what the previous speaker was saying, understanding your customers from a tech provider too. Do the SMEs have that particular price point to pay your solution? Do the SMEs comprehend new business models like paying subscription basis? You're paying something that you may not be utilizing all the time. Some people are very calculated in terms of where the money goes. Would a farmer in a rural place location be willing to adopt technologies that they cannot see how that relates back to their bottom line? So again, it goes back to everyone. Always understand your customers. Who are you building this for? So when it comes to the SMEs that we look at, we've run some pilot programs with the governments to get them to adopt digital technologies. Everybody wants them to do that. But put yourself in the SME shoes. If they're firefighting now just to make ends meet, do you think they have time to go sit in a course and learn about digital marketing? Do you think they have time to figure out? I mean, look at digital marketing today, and even some of the tools Facebook and Google has. You need like a rocket science degree to use some of these tools. I don't know why they keep complicating it from an end user tool, SME tool. Now it looks like an enterprise tool. So there is a breakdown in terms of what the tech does for that segment of the market. We see that as a big issue. And that's the opportunity for entrepreneurs out there to go and solve for it. In terms of, let's say, the farmers and the young generation, people who are will be on the supply side and need to adopt technologies. There are solutions that is coming that is beyond just here's a tool and you have to learn how to use it. But we have learned based on our experience how this can automate certain things for you. So that's that new age tool where basically it's like you see someone trying to, like there's a beautiful product we're seeing called Yes Hello. It automates how you basically do your notifications and your replies and your customer service for WhatsApp. You don't need a rocket science degree.
Okay.
It just basically works. There's some people who are trying to sell online and saw questions in the chat saying, how does an entrepreneur start? And you can build something on your own. You can buy, you can rent a solution. But again, you could start baby steps. Also, another amazing local product I like called Yeza. It allows you to create a commerce platform on a WhatsApp platform.
Wow.
So things that are understandable to the particular SME, they can start first. You don't need to like figure out, do I need a marketing team? What SME is going to go hire an internal person just to sit down there and run e-commerce? They won't justify such costs so fast. So that's the issue and dilemma they have, right? These purpose-built tools are now coming. So the part where we come in and we're investing to teams. So we're investing in a company that's basically saying, let's help farmers out. Farmers are wanting to farm more. They need access to land, they need access to capital. But how do you lend the farmer money? So that's a fundamental issue right there. Are they bankable? Do they have a credit score for farmers? Could you go to Agro Bank and get money? Could you go to a typical bank to get money? There's over 1 million farmers in the country. Can everyone go to Agro Bank and get a little get a little facility? No way. So you need alternative ways of financing. And there is alternative platforms today called ECF and P2P.
Correct.
Do they understand that customer call Mr. Farmer? So that's where the gap is, right? So we invested in a team called Kapitani that's basically building tools to help the farmers make their operations a little bit more not automated, but more transparent. They have more clarity in terms of how efficient and productive they run. So imagine it's the accounting system, but purpose-built for micro SMEs, purpose-built for the farmer, looking at your inputs and your outputs, helping you even maybe figure out, I need to group buy fertilizers. How can 300 other farmers kind of buy with you to bring that cost down? And at the end of the day, we get to understand how efficiently you run your particular farm and therefore generate a credit score for you and now lend you money based on how you perform. So we're starting to see those things in effect, right? And on the corporate innovation side, it's nice how we're seeing certain companies want to leverage to help out the SMEs, to help out the tech providers out there. So, key example is property developers. So much land, so much kind of, I wouldn't say so much, but there's an issue with distressed assets. So what we've been trying to figure out was, how do we take some of these distressed assets and use their rooftops for food production? We mentioned this at the beginning about the food security levels of the country, right? Trying to get that food safety. We've not hit our 2020 targets, the last time I checked.
Okay.
And there's a shortage of that. We import in chilies.
Oh yeah, of course. Correct.
We plant more chilies. So why aren't we doing that? What is the breakdown that we have to import so much and produce? How do you solve for that? If land is scarce, how do you leverage corporates that have rooftops like this? So we invested in a farm for the first time, and the farmer that we invested into is now going to rooftops of corporate towers and basically building urban farms. And what we then do is, this is where the new business model comes in. COVID showed that people needed new ways to engage in retail, right?
Okay.
They won't go to a supermarket because everyone was paranoid at the beginning. People wanted to buy online. There was a scarce supply of it.
Yep.
So people have come to the point that certain things that is important to them, they would be willing to buy online. You wouldn't need to go into a store and hold and feel your bayam. Unless you are a Michelin star chef and you want the crisp like that, then you do that. But if not, you would be able to say that every week we cook greens at home. Why can't I have a subscription model that sends vegetables to my doorstep every week? I don't really care what greens you send me. As long as they're green, I'm going to eat them. And we tested that, right? So we had an urban farm, we did a subscription model. And when COVID hit and the lockdown happened, we had people paying upfront 12 months of subscription for vegetables to be sent across the entire year. 6 months to a year was what we basically got to monetize from people. That's amazing. So now we're going to all these buildings and saying, let us set up rooftop farms or towers, and we create subscription models around your particular locations, around your certain tamans and industrial.
Okay, Bikesh, all right, you've given me so many talking points already. Let's move on to Pearl Khadija, because I want to ask her a question and want to add a supplementary question, because it's amazing that you can talk about farming now and don't talk about land, but rooftop, give me a rooftop, I want to farm there. Awesome. Okay, let's get Puan Khatijah on for the next question for her. And okay, great. So Khatijah, I got a quick question for you, which is that obviously, what are some of you already spoke earlier, right? But what are the other ongoing initiatives, right, to support entrepreneurship and technology, right, for the agriculture sector? And what Bikesh was mentioning was interesting, right? So literally, could somebody come to you and say, I'm doing farming, but I'm not using land, I'm using rooftops? Is your bank open to also assisting them because they are still considered farmers, or you think it must be soil before you consider them? This is ini baru farming.
Actually, I think just to share with you that this year is actually our normally we'll develop our strategic business plan on 5 years basis.
Correct.
This is the first year for our
your next 5 year plan.
Okay. Yeah, for the next 5 years plan. So I have covered our first strategic focus area just now with regards to sound agriculture development, right? Where we want to support the government in all the initiatives for the modernization and as well as mechanization. So what is interesting now is the second part of it is actually we also want to focus on inclusive customers. Meaning when we're talking about technology, we don't want to leave behind the underserved and unserved.
Okay.
So underserved and unserved can mean that this is from the P40 categories, or from those in the rural areas.
Yep.
Or maybe, as you mentioned, or Bikesh mentioned just now, maybe those who are into the urban farming. We want them to be in. So yes, the answer to your question, yes, we do provide financing for that kind of venture. And number 3, interestingly, one of our strategic focus areas is a transformative business model. Bikesh spoke about will Agro Bank give financing for this new agriculture startup kind of thing, right? So what we are saying, maybe now what we have learned from this pandemic, people burdened by the debt, right?
True.
So is it possible that we shift rather than to the leverage model to investment model?
Okay.
So that's what we're looking at, having an investment platform and allowing more people to come and participate in this venture, agriculture venture. And what is interesting also, we talk about technology, but this agriculture is always been associated with a high risk sector, right? So how do we provide protection? So Agrobank has actually been mandated to arrange for crop takaful, which is a crop insurance, but in we call it a crop takaful. So people can be assured that there is protection there if your project is actually attacked by pests or because of the climate change. You know, we talk about the climate change, the impact of the change in the weather pattern, and what's so on and so on. And of course, our fourth focus area is regards to sustainable financial condition. Sustainable as well. So when we talk about sustainable, whatever practices or whatever technology that we embark on, it must be friendly to the environment, friendly to the people, friendly to the society, right? And of course, it must contribute to the economy as well.
Of course.
So those are, in short, the answer to, do I give financing to this people? Yes, we do. So in fact, the difference between us and DFI, we actually try to close the gap where customers may not be within the appetite of the commercial banks because they do not understand the risk and they do not understand the business. That's where we come in. And when we talk about inclusive customer focus, this is where we will try to nurture them. They will start with us as a startup, and then we make sure that they get enough guidance and advices so that they can grow to the next level.
So on that point, because this is a question I have, but let me jump and ask you first, because you talk about advice and like expert advice, right? You have something called a center, ACE something, right? ACE COE or whatever, and it's something. It is not new, right? Talk about that and the value that gives to the ecosystem.
Okay, so when we talk about customers, most of these...
Sorry, by the way, very interesting. All of you all are putting such an emphasis on customer, which is very sometimes understated, or people assume it's a given, but it takes a lot of hard work, it seems like, to really understand the customer and try to solve their need before they can open up their wallet and reward you.
Yes, that's so for what we find out, especially our group of customers, as I mentioned earlier, these are actually the underserved and unserved.
Okay.
And most of the time, they do not have this financial discipline. Or we talk about financial literacy, right? So in addition to giving them the financing, but we also coach them. We give them some kind of guidance, how to do the business and what kind of discipline that they need. And what is interesting for our is, as I mentioned also earlier, we are part of the agency under Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry. So we work closely with other agencies too. So when you do an agriculture project, you can actually get the help of these various agencies under MAFI for the technical advice. They can come and let you know that you can go actually to them and ask them, can you come and look at my project and see what's wrong with this plant? You see, what is there something wrong with my farming practices? They can come in and advise. So we work together as well with these agencies, and then we can actually come up with the funding. So this is how we work with the agencies, and our ACE actually giving them this education about this financial discipline and how to manage the businesses. Because I think by now we all agree that most of these MSME would have been taken aback with this pandemic in terms of how do I manage my finances, right? And how do I move forward now post-pandemic? So that's actually our role too. We do support our customers in that manner as well.
Nice.
And even before they become our customers, if they have interest to become an entrepreneur, so this is part of the entrepreneur development that we are doing. So they can come and join the class first.
Fantastic.
And are ready, then we can give them the financing. And you can monitor the performance as well.
Okay, so key point, Lucky, I assume that you have to be a customer of the bank before you enjoy the services of your COE, but no, you can already come and partake. Wow, wonderful, great. That's called building capacity. Wonderful. So just quickly, I'm going to move on to Afiq. But before Afiq, there's an interesting question from Shireen Rahim about policy interventions, right, supporting short-term liquidity or funding. And I think Bikesh already kind of spoke about that, Shireen, which is that you've already got this P2P and the ECF equity funding where you can get funding from the many, right? You don't need to go to formal institutions also, and entrepreneurs have been able to raise money from this P2P and ECF platforms also. So that is definitely a strong emerging alternative funding platform that was not there probably 4 years ago, and people like Bikesh and Sam Shafi from Pitchin, right, and Elaine Lokman from Ataplas, they put in a lot of hard work to build up that. So that's to quickly answer you. And before I bring on Muhammad Farid has an interesting question about poultry farming. So as in it's about integration, right? I see very less opportunity to be digitized. I'm not sure what he's talking about, but I just saw that in terms of agriculture. But anybody wants to answer that, they can later. But Afiq, for you first now is the next question I have, right? Which is just quickly on you. We are now moving into this endemic stage, right? No more pandemic, endemic. Does this, what kind of mindset change does this require from entrepreneurs and NGOs? And I bring up NGO because you're also working with NGOs.
Right. Thank you, Karamjit, for the questions. Okay, so I think the main point here is to really understand what does this pandemic brought us into, and how does this endemic can change the whole perspective of driving forward this organization or company that we're building up since day one. So the type of crisis leadership that we require is to actually find the solutions under the stress conditions, considering all the conventional risk management. We need to have a certain frameworks that is really agile. That's what I mentioned just now. We need to be really flexible. We need to be really adaptive. The leadership management, they need to know where to navigate, and they need to teach. When it comes to driving forward the company, it's not always coming from the perspective of you as the owner itself, but also you need to understand the whole team need to be agile, and the whole team need to understand the new cultures that we're having right now is having a lot of flexibility, because there's a lot of uncertainties. Though it's an endemic, we still need to know like what are those reactions when it comes to these consumers, right? Because the consumers are they still be aware of this COVID.
Of course.
To some industries, they want to splurge their money. So for example, like travel.